Welcome to the show. This is Charlton and Big C Sports, talking Charlton and Big C real sports talk every Monday through Friday, 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time worldwide on Charlton and Big C Sports. I also want to thank our listeners who tweet out from Latin America, so bienvenidos to you, as well as London, England, Berlin, Germany, Canada, even have Australia on the map, and of course the great United States of America. And today's segment is sponsored by Bud Light, and we know you good old boys like it, Big C, because it's cheaper than moonshine, or is that the wrong way? Maybe it's the other way around. You like the moonshine because it's cheaper than Bud Light, Big C. Is that how I take it?
Well, you got to look at those boys over in London, England that's tweeting out, Charlton. They love that heavy lager.
Yeah.
And, this weekend, the Premier League championships, all 10 teams are going to be playing this weekend over in Europe. So it's going to be one heck of a weekend for football, European style, where the champions are going to be crowned all this weekend. Just a wonderful day for European football.
Yeah, definitely. And all around the world, I know you good old boys, we have NBA basketball kicking off right now. We even have the Kentucky Derby on Saturday down in the great state of Kentucky. And I understand that they may even...
Rick Pitino will be there, won't he?
I was just going to say, they're talking about the purse is $2 million, so Rick Pitino might have a front row seat, Big C. They have to remind him that he says he likes to recruit horses, but he's referring to black athletes. This time they really have horses, Big C. They're not people.
He really needs to stay huh?
But I just think that's funny when they asked Rick Pitino what he thought of guys like DeMarcus Cousins and Willie Cauley-Stein. They go, oh, he's a horse. This guy's a real horse. But the Kentucky Devils, they use real horses, Big C, just so he might be a little bit disappointed. But we have that going on. We also have some NHL action. But one of the great actors that we talk about, Big C, you know how we like to mix Hollywood and acting together. And before we get into Rosie Greer, just some breaking news that just came over the wire. Kobe Bryant. He's making a short movie about his career. Now, we know that LA is big for Hollywood, of course, and the actors, right? Kobe Bryant, we just celebrated his retirement party over the last couple of years, culminated this season. Well, he's doing a short movie, and I think that's part of acting, becoming part of the sports business. Big C, your thoughts on Kobe becoming an actor now?
Well, Charlton, you have so much reality television, and to do a documentary, now Kobe's been involved in those already.
Yeah.
Now, a documentary about an athlete is a great lineage to their past and stuff where you get a chance to sit down, talk with them, interact, show highlights. That's something that Kobe can do very well. He's very articulate, very intelligent man, speaks 7 different languages, Charlton.
Yeah, very smart.
If there was anybody that you want to do a documentary about that's been a professional athlete, Kobe would fit that bill because throughout his career, Charlton, he's been very reserved about what he would say to the media.
Yeah.
He'd give an interview, but he wanted to keep his life private. We knew he had a lot of controversy at times.
Yeah.
Had it with his parents, had some off-the-court incidents, in Colorado.
Yeah.
But Kobe was a consummate professional when he played. And when he spoke to the media, he never mixed words.
Yeah.
They could not bait him to say things that some athletes would say. He could speak in complete sentences. He wasn't that, well, we guy,
Yeah.
He represented African-American athletes at the highest, Charlton.
Yeah.
And you were very proud as an African-American man when Kobe Bryant got behind the mic because you knew you were going to be well represented.
Yeah, and this movie right now is basically called Kobe's Farewell Poem to Basketball. It's getting a short film treatment with some high-profile talent behind it. It's called Dear Basketball, and it's going to be composed by John Williams and directed by longtime Disney animator Glenn Keane. He's best known for his work in Little Mermaid and Aladdin. So Kobe Bryant's going to narrate that. I'm impressed with Kobe Bryant as the man. I know we talk about athletes and sometimes we kind of praise people too soon, Big C, because they're just people. But here's a guy who's done it great on the court and off the court. And if we talk about great actors, Rosie Greer, I know you're very fond of him as an athlete and an actor, Big C.
Well, Charlton, you mentioned about being in Los Angeles and the opportunities that come from there. And we've talked about several former members of the Los Angeles Rams, and Rosie Greer is just the latest member of the fearsome foursome that we're talking about. When you look at that defensive line that existed for a decade and a half down in Los Angeles, we spoke about the late Merlin Olsen. We talked about Fred Dreyer. We've also talked about now we talk about Rosie Greer.
Yeah.
Rosie Greer started out his career with the Rams, had over a decade of play in Los Angeles, and he crossed over into the television industry, Charlton, in such television series as I Dream of Jeannie.
Oh, yeah, Barbie
The Man
Eaton.
from Uncle.
Yeah.
And The Wild Wild West.
Yeah, excellent stuff.
When you think about the diversity of those roles, he also played in the TV series with Daniel Boone, Charlton, with Fess Parker.
Yeah.
So, this was a man that could play diverse roles. He was a tremendous defensive run stopper when he played with the original Los Angeles Rams. But after his career was over, he was able to move into the television and film category, as we've seen a lot of athletes, not just in football, but in basketball, baseball, track and field, even swimming, Charlton. But, this is gentlemen who prepare themselves for life after sports.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, as we just saw with the draft, so many careers are going to end. There's going to be 250 careers that end overnight.
Yeah,
and so
that's true, Big C.
When you think about that, you have to have a game plan, and not being on the court, but game plan for life. Rosie Greer did that, as well as many other former Los Angeles Rams, Charlton.
Yeah, and you'd also brought up many times, too, Big C, someone considered the greatest athlete to ever play NFL football, the great Jim Brown, how he played at Syracuse, played so many positions at Syracuse, played for the Cleveland Browns, and the gentleman never missed a game, but then he left at the height of his career, a lot like Barry Sanders, and went into acting, I think, not only because Raquel Welch was waiting for him, but also because that get a lot of men to get out of the game of football.
I might have left myself if I was old enough.
Okay. You saying Big C would have done some work with Raquel Welch too, Big C? Is that what you're saying?
Long line.
That's funny. But you think about the guys that understand that it's a sport, because as we're all hyped about who's going to go where, is it going to be Carson Wentz, or is it going to be Jeff Goff, who's 14 and 26 at Cal Berkeley, giving everybody hope for being a first-round draft pick now? But
hopefully he won't throw more interceptions and touchdowns, Charlton.
Oh my God! I think they should start testing these coaches and owners to see if they're on something. Because if that's the pedigree for building your franchise, I mean, I wish the kid luck, but they're asking him to do in the NFL what he never did at Cal, the Pac-12. Anyway,
they're asking him to win more than 14 games. The NFL season is what, 16 games long?
Yeah, 16 right now so far.
And when you look at the college season, what are they now? 12 games long?
Yeah, 12 and 14 with the playoffs.
So he won in 3 years out of 36 games. What you said he was 14 and what, 25?
14 and 26.
14 and 26. So I'm trying to do the math on that. So he wins about 30% of his games.
Yeah, about 35% of his games.
Okay, so that's pretty much in line with what Jeff Fisher has done as the head coach of the Rams. So that's a perfect marriage, Charlton.
Well, they say birds of a feather flock together, Big C, so I think that's incredible. But,
I guess the sheep run up and down the same mountain, too, huh?
Well, he's out of the same conference where they have Coach David Shaw, who's the 8th highest paid coach at Stanford in the Pac-12, 8th highest paid football coach, been in the Rose Bowl 2 of the last 3 years, drafted more players onto the NFL than any other school out of the Pac-12, including USC, UCLA, Oregon State, Washington State, Arizona State. Stanford's at the top of the heap. Their coach, when it comes to pay, he's number 8, Big C.
Well, Charlton, how far is Stanford and Cal from each other?
Probably about a good hour drive, if that much.
An hour drive.
Yeah.
And so the quarterback that was an hour away that went to the Rose Bowl 2 of the last 3 years wasn't NFL ready.
No, he's not NFL ready.
And the coach that has more players drafted in that conference than any other player in that conference, any other coach in that conference, his players are not NFL ready, but the guys who can't win but 14 games in 3 years is battle tested and is going to go out and be the next great arm in the NFL.
You just hit the home run.
The GM and the coaches and the scouts.
Yeah.
Somebody's smoking something
I tell you.
Nemiki was smoking down in Atlanta when he fell out of that hotel window.
Well, I tell you, that's so funny. And this segment's also sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealer, home of the all-new Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, we talked about the 142nd Kentucky Derby. It's going to be Saturday, and it's Churchill Downs in Louisville, Kentucky. It's a 1.25 mile run, a $2 million purse. And we know a lot of people down south where you good old boys are, you love your moonshine and horse races, Big C. But do they give the horses moonshine too, Big C, or is it just for the patrons?
If he don't win, we got a big barbecue grill for him, okay? We're not worried about it. Funny. We're winning either way.
Don't get the animals lovers upset. But I want to transition into something because we know we love our NFL football. And there's a quarterback by the name of Jeff Driscoll. He's a 49ers sixth pick out of Florida. And he was
No, he came out of Louisiana Tech. He started his career
at Florida.
Charlton. He started down there for 2 years, got injured, broke his leg, transferred to Louisiana Tech.
Exactly. So he had more yards at Louisiana Tech than he had at Florida. But ironically, he says that his favorite quarterback is Alex Smith for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, Alex Smith never won a championship, but this is what I want to bring up for you comparison-wise. Because they like him because he's about 6'4", and he's 237 pounds, and he's fast. Now, here's some notable 40-yard times, Big C, and you'll understand this coming out of the SEC. Speedy quarterbacks. Number 1, RG3 ran a 4.41. I say that's pretty fast, Big C.
That's big enough to put that. He can almost catch me.
He can almost catch you, Big C. Okay. Colin Kaepernick, 4.53. Is that pretty fast as well, Big C?
And that man's 6'5" also, Charles.
Yeah, same size. Now, I just want to bring this up because they were talking about getting rid of this guy in Colin Kaepernick, but they're trying to get guys that are not as big and not as fast, but they're saying that's what they want. They have Russell Wilson, 4.55, Big C. Is that pretty fast?
And he set an NFL record for touchdown passes versus interceptions the last 6 games of the season, Charles. So I think he's an adequate athlete.
I think he's very adequate. Now, listen to this name. Cam Newton, 4.59 40 time. I think that's pretty fast, Big C.
Well, he only made an appearance in the Super Bowl last year, Charles. I don't know how you would rate him, going 15-1 in the regular season and making it to the Super Bowl. I guess it's okay for a quarterback.
It's okay for a quarterback. 3 more names I want to bring up, Big C. Andrew Luck, 4.67 40-yard dash time. That's not really fast, but I guess for quarterbacks, they're calling that fast. Is that okay, 4.67 Andrew Luck, Big C?
Well, Charlton, statistically, he has the same statistics as a Mark Sanchez, now quarterback of the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
So I guess they're placating depending on, the appearance.
Yeah. Now, here's 2 more names. Alex Smith, 4.71. That's not considered fast, but they're calling that fast for quarterbacks. But if RG3 or Kaepernick or Newton run a 4.7, they would think they got to put some more moonshine in their Gatorade, Big C, right? Now, this next 2 names I'll bring up. Carson Wentz, 4.77. I know they're D-line that run that fast. But during the draft, they were saying this kid is fast, that he's quick out of the pocket. He's elusive, but he's 4.77. They're linebackers that run 4.77, Big C.
You cannot find a linebacker in the NFL, Charlton, who does not run at least a 4.7. I mean, there's a lot of linebackers in the NFL running 4.6 and 4.5.
Yeah.
So 4.7, I mean, running backs, you couldn't play running back. Tight ends are running 4.6 and 4.5. So when you talk about 4.7, you'll find some of the top offensive guards in the NFL that can run that. Matter of fact, the top offensive lineman in the draft ran a 4.6 at 312 pounds, okay?
Okay, now see.
4.6 at 312 pounds. That's about 100 pounds more than Carson Wentz.
And speaking of 100 pounds more than Carson Wentz, this segment is also sponsored by your Northern California BMW dealer, home of the ultimate driving machine. Go down and test drive the 1 Series all the way up to the flagship M7 over 600 horsepower. And when you're test driving it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, the reason I bring that up is because I've just heard over the last couple of months they're going after quarterbacks who are athletic. And again, I hope all these guys make it. We know they have to put someone out of a job. But when they're commenting that a guy can run a 4.77 in Carson Wentz, and we know there are defensive linemen that run 4.7, 4.6, linebackers that run 4.5, 4.4. 4.77 is really 4.8. That's not fast at all. But
no, it's a 4.8. You might as well go and round it out. But there was a quarterback that they said needed a lot of work.
Yeah.
Who went in the 4th round, I believe, to the Buffalo Bills. Cardell Jones.
Yeah.
6'5", 250 pounds, who ran a 4.5 40.
Yeah, exactly.
So, he's 2.2 seconds faster, 0.3 seconds faster than Carson Wentz.
Yeah.
But Carson Wentz is a blazer as far as what everybody is saying, Joe.
Well, that's what everybody was telling us, Big C. So when you think about that, and the reason I want to bring that up is because I want all the fans who love football and you love listening to the prognosticators, even ourselves, when they're telling you that what you see is fast, well, when you maybe in the conference that North Dakota State plays in, 4.77 is fast.
I mean, you got to look at this. Carson Wentz played in a conference that no defensive players were drafted by the NFL, okay?
None?
No defensive players out of his conference were drafted in this most recent NFL draft. So when you think about the competition level, he's playing against defensive linemen who run 4.9 and 5 flat, 5.2.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he looks good running away from these guys. But now when you're going to be faced with defensive ends in the NFL that they can all clock a 4.7, 4.6, every defensive end in the NFL, Charlton, can do that. So who is he going to outrun? I mean, these guys are going to be coming off the edge. You got these big defensive tackles in the middle that weigh 350 pounds that run at least a 5 flat 40 themselves. They're going to be leaning on you. And when you think you can escape the pocket and you got a Von Miller sitting there on the outside who can run a 4.440, Charlton, it's going to be a tough afternoon.
Well, see, I think about guys like Von Miller running in the 4.4s, guys like LeVar Bowman out of the 49ers. He's running down in the 4.4s.
Look at Ken Houston in Kansas City, the outside linebacker that signed a $111 million contract that led the NFL 2 seasons ago with 22 sacks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you got some guys, even James Harrison, an old man with the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
These guys can be at Charlton. And you look at Shazier that they drafted out of Ohio State 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Runs a 4.40. So when you're talking about a quarterback running a 4.8 and you got your average linebacker running a 4.5, show me the athlete that's going to win that competition, Charlton.
Yeah, and see, that's true, Big C, because, you know, I always make fun of you good old boys down south because you guys do like your moonshine, and there's nothing wrong with that because you don't pay taxes.
What great athletes are. I mean, those guys that you're talking about, they couldn't play down here in the SEC, Charlton.
Well, you guys fooled Keith Jackson because remember the great broadcaster Keith Jackson? He was doing the commercial for Gatorade. And he was saying that the good old boys down at the University of Florida came up with Gatorade. But they may have fooled Keith Jackson because we know these guys drink a lot of moonshine. They think Gatorade's too salty, from what I understand.
Well, you know, that's just the balance out the biting, Charlton. So we masked that with Gatorade.
Okay. Now, I want to get into something on the NBA circuit because I know you like talking about that. And in the great, you know, money is incredible. We would all love to be worth $100 million or even $1 billion. So, you know, the lottery's up. Powerball's like $500 million. So I'm going to claim Charlton and Big C to win the Powerball. Okay, we'll put it out there first.
I'm going to go out and give me some plastic bottles and cash me in and buy some tickets.
Okay, you heard it here first on the Charlton and Big C show. Now, in the great state of Washington, we have the owner. Well, they're trying to bring basketball back to the great state of Washington. But the city of Seattle, they voted down the Chris Hansen. He's a billionaire, right? He's trying to bring the NBA back to the state of Washington as well as NHL. And you know, the city and the state voted it down, the 5-4 vote. So there's not going to be anytime soon a team coming back to the state of Washington. They have Portland up there, but that's the state to the south. This is what we're going to bring up, Big C. The Sacramento Kings, they're opening the new Golden One Center next year. It's a great facility right down in the heart of downtown Sacramento.
Okay.
Now they're looking at the coaching carousel that you always talk about. They talked about Henry Bibby, who coached Continental basketball against Phil Jackson, against George Call, and against Flip Saunders. Now he's won his fair share of games against them. In your opinion, you know, he also coached at USC. He also coached WNBA. Do you think that he, as an African-American coach, would have more success with a guy like DeMarcus Cousins, the same way that they brought in Cleveland, they gave LeBron James someone who's more ethnically in touch with him? Does that make any sense, Big C?
Well, I don't know if you can use the level ethically in touch. You're going to need to be more socially in touch. Now, Tyronn Lue is not that far removed from the NBA. Now, Henry Bibby had his glory days in the NBA back in the 70s.
Yeah.
You know, when he played point guard, Charlton. So when you think about players and coaches, it's a generational now. When we look at players being laden with tattoos, these big baggy shorts that they have to wear, and just their antics overall.
Yeah.
A player who played in the 70s 40 years ago, Charlton, does not transcend mentally as a coach now. That's why I mentioned people like Bob McAdoo, Patrick Ewing. These guys have been on the bench for the past decade.
That's a good name, Patrick Ewing.
Players.
Yeah.
So they've had this interaction with the new generation player. George Karl's a great coach. It's just like when you listen to Hubie Brown broadcast the game,
amazing,
Charlton.
amazing.
Hubie Brown is an educator. You know, when I watch a basketball game, there's two people that I want to listen to. That's Doug Collins and Hubie Brown.
Yeah.
They educate you during a basketball game. They take you beyond just the dribbling and shooting, Charlton, and that's what you have to understand about a game. And so to bring one of those guys in that has not been in the NBA since the 70s, Charlton, is not going to work with a team like Sacramento. You have to have a coach of size that can look your big man in the eyes and tell him this is how it's going to be.
Yeah.
And if they don't do that with McHale or Patrick Ewing, Charlton, they're just going to waddle until they get rid of Cousins for the next half a decade.
Well,
because they're not going to have any success.
And McHale backed out, Big C. He said he didn't want to be a part of it, so he withdrew his name from consideration. And I think guys like him, he's been around. He has a championship ring. He understands what it takes to get a championship ring. And, of course, he had the great Larry Bird there as well, and Paris and all those good old boys in Boston. But I think that's something that you look at. You got to get someone that the Divac has to back that person. Okay, just like Kupchak down in Los Angeles, they're giving Walton a chance, who's never coached a team, because you didn't really have to coach Steph Curry and Draymond Green and Thompson and Iguodala. You didn't have to coach them.
He had a nice suit contract, for the first half of the season.
Yeah.
That's what he had. He was a fan.
Yeah.
That's all he was. He was a fan. If somebody wanted to come out, they took themselves out of the game. Walton really didn't do anything to change the structure of that organization, Charlton.
No, I agree very much so.
Now he has to come in with a talent-empty organization. Now, is he a coach, or is he going to be frustrated?
Yeah, see, that's a great point, Big C, also, because a lot of these people bring it up. And a little bit of happening last night in basketball, the Raptors refused to let the second one get away. They were able to get a win versus Miami in overtime, 96-92. And now, when you think about Toronto, I still think they're playing really tight because Miami's an old team. Toronto's young. DeRozan had 20 points. Kyle Lowry had 18 for Toronto, which battled back late in the fourth quarter to force a second overtime. But if they're going to get over on Miami, now they have to go on the road, Big C, down in the South. And I don't know if they have enough to get 1 out of 2 in Miami. Maybe they'll sneak 2, but it seems like they're playing a little bit tight. Your thoughts on that, Big C?
Well, you can see that, that anxiety, because so many people have picked them to be challenging Cleveland for the Eastern Conference Championship, so they overlooked Miami right off the bat.
Yeah.
Everyone has talked about how old Miami is, that Bosh is not there, but they've been a better team without Bosh, such as the Clippers were about a month and a half ago when Blake Griffin was not in the lineup.
Yeah.
The Clippers went on a tear. Griffin came back, he got hurt, CP3 got hurt, and the team went into the tank. But when you look at Toronto, if the task is to get to Cleveland, then they're going to lose to Miami.
Yeah.
Their task at hand is to beat Miami, not worry about Cleveland. Now, they can match up with Cleveland, but they can also lose this series in Miami thinking about Cleveland, Charlton.
Yeah, that's true. Now, 2 more things I want to bring up, and this segment is also sponsored by your Northern California Ford dealer. They build the all-new F-150. They build it Ford Tough. And when you go down and test drive it, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. Now, Big C, we were talking about the NFL draft, and we love how players get to decide, or they get their choices are made for them by the owners of these teams, giving them a chance to have a life of a dream come true. Well, the NFL, we know Johnny Manziel had his issues with the court, and we know that's a tragic situation. I hope the man gets some help. But I want to bring up something that really wasn't talked about in the draft, but you've been talking about it since we started at Salem Media back in September. Roger Goodell wants to start getting more minority influence involved in the NFL coaching ranks, and he's doing it by going into the historically black colleges. They're talking about the SWAC and the MEAC. Now, that's what your historically black colleges down south, they're trying to recruit more coaches to make them more NFL ready, because we know that we have that Rooney Rule, which you always talk about, they interview people, but it doesn't mean they're going to get hired. Do you like that effort that Goodell is going into this? It's kind of kept quiet because the draft is over now. I think it should have been more of a push before the draft, Big C. Your thoughts on that?
Well, Charlton, you can say things, but is there sincerity behind it? Now, these traditional black colleges have been around forever. The NFL has built for years, and major college football really destroyed it. Now, there's been tremendous coaches and there's been tremendous players in in these historical black universities.
Eddie Robinson, Doug
decades.
Williams. Yeah.
For decades, they have been there. They hold many of NCAA records. You know, Walter Payton came out of there. Jerry Rice came out of there. Well, you can look up and down the Hall of Fame of the NFL. Buck Buchanan with the Kansas City Chiefs. Willie Lanier with the Kansas City Chiefs. The great Willie Brown of the Oakland Raiders, Charlton. On and on. Harry Parsons with the New York Giants. Winston Hill, who just passed away a couple of weeks ago, former offensive tackle starting in the Super Bowl with the New York Jets.
Yeah.
The historical black colleges has just turned out a wealth of NFL talent over the years, Charlton, and never got any accreditation for it. The NFL has turned a blind eye over the decades of black college coaches having an opportunity, not even being invited into training camps, Charlton. So not even getting a legitimate look or opportunity in any kind of way. So Roger Goodell, by making this statement, if it's a sincere statement, then you will see several of these coaches move into the assistant ranks next year, Charlton. Not saying that we have to do a study and go out and do a feasibility. The feasibility is hire the black man, Charlton.
Well, you see,
that's the only feasibility there is.
Yeah.
Hire the black man. He has proven that he can win on the college level. Every white head coach that has come from college, Charlton, and gotten a job in the NFL and be gone within the next 3 years, no one said, well, he wasn't ready. It's just he had a bad organization. Why can't you give a traditional black college head coach that same opportunity? There's NFL jobs that open up every year, Charlton, and we have never in the history of the NFL seen a coach interviewed from a traditional black college for one of those openings.
When you think about that, too, it's something that you brought up. It's about the exposure. I know that even in college football, you're more apt to see on Friday night a high school football game broadcast on ESPN than you will one of the colleges from the SWAC or the MEAC. And I think that's unfortunate because a lot of those kids are recruited to go to SEC schools, but maybe because there's not enough scholarships available, they'll stay in the historically black colleges. The talent level's there. But, I mean, programs like ESPN, they find more interest in showing a high school game that may have 6,000 fans in the stands on a Friday night than showing the historically black colleges that may have 25 to 30,000 fans in the stands. And I think there's a push to not pay attention to the black talent when it comes to coaches and when it comes to administrators. But as long as they're athletes, then they're, of course, going to be put on TV. What do you think about ESPN putting high school football in front of historically black college football that's been around for centuries, Big C?
Well, Charlton, that's a great racial divide that we will always have in this country. Even ESPN, worldwide leader in sports, does not want to recognize historical black colleges. And you talk about these high school games. You know, and there's enough historical black colleges to have a game on every week. I mean, football on television on ESPN, Charlton, starts on Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
So that's college. I mean, really, it's 7 nights a week, basically, that you got football on television. So you can't find one black college football game a week that you want to put on television.
But see,
you'll have 3 high school games a week, Charlton.
Exactly.
In a broadcast, you're going to see there's no interest.
Yeah.
There are alumni from these black universities that are very proud, very intelligent, very well off financially.
Yeah.
That have gotten their education, that have given back to the university, but also, if ESPN covers these games, Charlton, then
Money.
It's going to be a financial benefit
Exactly.
to the traditional black colleges. It's going to help them out financially.
Exactly.
And they give this money to a high school instead of giving it to a black institution, Charlton.
Now, see, I think that's so powerful because with Goodell talking about the push for African-American talent, it's a network thing because the talent for college kids is a lot more, I guess, eye-catching than some high school kid that's weighing 6 feet, 150 pounds.
This way. If you expose these athletes on television, these black traditional colleges, if you expose them on television, would not their draft stock rise?
It would rise.
When people say, hi, how is somebody not looking at this kid? Okay, Carson Wentz, passed for 1,600.
Yeah.
You take a kid from a traditional black college who's passed for 4,800 yards more than Jeff Carr.
Yeah.
And they say, well, why isn't he get drafted? You know, he has 48 touchdowns passes on the season, only 12 interceptions, and he's not good enough to be drafted. That's the thing, Charlton. If you expose these traditional black college athletes on television, where's the next Walter Payton coming from? He's not a free agent. Now you got to spend the first, second round draft pick on it. You're not going to get these receivers as 7th-round picks, 5th-round picks, or free agents.
Yeah.
You have to draft them in the 1st and 2nd round. So it's a financial thing all the way around. If you don't expose them, then you can't say that talent exists because no one else has access to them through television.
Yeah.
Carson Wentz, Charlton, ESPN ran a game of his the day before the draft on television.
Yeah.
And what did that do? You know, it got him into a 2nd-round pick. They had to buffer what they had been talking about, how great this kid was. So they picked his best game of the year and played it. Now, there was a dozen black college football quarterbacks that played as well as he did, if not better.
I agree. And
None of them got drafted, even in the combine, Charlton.
Yeah. And see,
he had 4 black quarterbacks show up the combine. 4.
Yeah.
Is that all that played in college football
Well,
this last
see,
season?
and Big C, it's just like this push. And this segment is also sponsored by Beneath His Wings Foundation. To support or donate, go to bhwf.org. Contact Cynthia Evans at CYNN Entertainment when it comes to promotion and marketing. She's the best in Northern California. But in the last 2 minutes of the program, Big C, you know that people focus on what you give attention to. If the black colleges had more coverage by ESPN or even Fox, they would get television revenue. They would get money coming in. The same way ABC pays television revenue to the Big Ten, to the Pac-12, the SEC, the Big 12. Notre Dame has her own TV station. If the black colleges participated in the money, they would be more profitable. And that would make more kids want to stay there as opposed to going to the heritage conferences. So there's always a money thing behind it. They're getting a lot of free labor. And the last thing I'll ask you before we close, Big C, and this segment is sponsored by United Labor, guaranteed $100,000 in life insurance, no medical checks, and also Goosehead Insurance will beat anyone in PNC coverage. Contact Charlton and Big C Sports. Send out a tweet. In the last minute of the section, Big C, when you think of SEC coaches, and we talked about it before, the best talent comes from the South, especially football and basketball. Now, most of these schools that have the black colleges, they're in the South. But they don't get the coverage because they would have to get money from the TV stations. And so there's a whole political good old boy thing that Goodell say he's trying to cure. But I think if they really wanted to cure it, they would give money to these black colleges too. And there seems to be resistance to do that, Big C, just like there's resistance at paying the players. In the last 60 seconds, Big C, your thoughts.
Well, Charlton, the NFL just signed an $8 billion television contract, okay? $8 billion. All the traditional colleges combined don't make $1 billion, Charlton, in total revenue. They don't make $1 billion. Roger Goodell has to put his pocket where his mouth is. If he really wants to help out the scenario, let's upgrade some facilities down in the traditional black colleges. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Everybody can talk and placate that, Charlton. Everybody wants to be a talking head. This is what we're going to do. We're looking at this. We're doing a feasibility study.
Yeah.
Feasibility is putting your money where your mouth is. All they got to do is fund these programs, just like if you're broadcasting games, you're funding the program.
Yeah, that's true.
How difficult is this? When you talk about the coaches of America, the NCAA coaches, that fraternity, all they have to do is say, hey, we want to include everybody, the traditional black colleges. Not until desegregation were these black athletes allowed to go to these traditional white institutions, Charlton.
Yeah.
And it destroyed the traditional black colleges. There was many of black athletes coming out of these colleges pre-desegregation, Charlton. First, second, third round draft picks, Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
They don't exist now because they told people they can be on television. If you go to these small black schools, you cannot be on television. So do you want to be seen?
Yeah.
Even though you'll only be standing on the sideline, I'll get you on TV 6-7 times a year.
Well, Big C, I think that is so powerful. I do want to commend Roger Goodell, but I hope that you're right. I hope that it's not just talk because, as you know, wherever TV shows up, money shows up because sponsors show up, whether it's golf, whether it's the Kentucky Derby that's happening this week, whether it's Major League Baseball. No matter what your sport, if you have TV, you have revenue coming in and major corporations. And I hope they'll do the same thing for the historically black colleges. If they can do it for high school football, I know they can do it for black colleges. You can follow more on Charlton Big C Sports every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, p.m. And we can have worldwide Charlton Big C Sports. We thank you for listening. We appreciate you, and we hope you have a super fantastic day.